There is a strange silence that surrounds the moment you hit $1 million. We talk about the number itself, the tax implications, the asset allocation, and the investment strategy, but we rarely talk about the quiet afternoon when you realize you have crossed the line. Especially if you are around 40 years old. You are not 22 anymore. You are not 35. You are in the thick of your prime earning years, but the psychological landscape has shifted beneath your feet. This is the post-milestone slump that no financial planner puts in a slide deck. It is the identity crisis that comes when the goal you chased for a decade suddenly disappears. We have the data on the numbers. The academic literature on lifecycle investing and asset allocation is robust. We know that hitting this mark around 40 often coincides with a strategic shift from aggressive accumulation to balancing life insurance needs and asset allocation. You stop thinking about pure growth and start thinking about risk management. But the human element remains a complete knowledge gap. There is no empirical data on the subjective experiences of this specific demographic. We know they likely benefit from the homeownership goldmine effect, where real estate equity serves as a critical wealth anchor. We know they face the longevity risk paradox of having sufficient capital but a significantly longer time horizon for retirement spending. But we do not know what it feels like to wake up one day and realize the chase is over. Consider the typical narrative of the 40-year-old millionaire. In their 20s and 30s, their identity was tied to accumulation. They were the builders. They were the ones grinding, the ones optimizing their returns, the ones saying yes to every opportunity that increased their net worth. Now, the primary financial challenge shifts from how to get rich to how to sustain wealth. This requires a life cycle approach that integrates retirement planning with extended life expectancy and potential family obligations. The psychological weight of this shift is immense. You are no longer the hunter. You are the keeper of the castle. This transition often triggers a subtle form of grief. You spent years optimizing your life for a specific target. You sacrificed leisure, you managed your risk, you delayed gratification, and now that the target is hit, the motivation evaporates. This is the trap of lifestyle inflation. When you have $1 million, the temptation is to upgrade everything. You buy the nicer car, you move to the better school district, you start dining at restaurants you never visited before. But this inflation is not just about money. It is about filling the void left by the absence of the goal. You spend to feel the progress you no longer feel. The research on home ownership as a life cycle goldmine suggests that property ownership can significantly enhance welfare compared to equity-only portfolios. For the 40-year-old cohort, this is often the anchor. They have likely paid down a significant portion of their mortgage or built substantial equity. This real estate acts as a stabilizer in their portfolio, but it also ties them to a location and a set of responsibilities that they might not have had if they were purely in the stock market. They are now a homeowner and an investor. They are a parent and a saver. The complexity of their life increases even as their financial freedom improves. This complexity can feel like a burden. You have the money, but you have less time. Then there is the matter of time. The longevity risk paradox is a critical factor for this group. They have sufficient capital, but they have a significantly longer time horizon for retirement spending and potential health costs. If you hit $1 million at 40, you are looking at potentially 40 years of spending. That is a long time to preserve wealth. The strategies that got you here, the disciplined long-term compounding strategies like index fund investing, are now the strategies that must keep you going. But the psychological pressure is different. In your 20s, you can afford to lose money because you have time to recover. At 40, the margin for error feels thinner. You are balancing the need for growth to outpace inflation against the need for safety to protect the nest egg. This creates a specific type of anxiety. It is not the anxiety of scarcity. It is the anxiety of abundance. It is the fear that you will run out of time rather than money. The financial models talk about mortality risk and bequest goals. They talk about striking the balance between life insurance timing and asset allocation. But they do not talk about the feeling of standing on the precipice of retirement and wondering if you are actually ready. You have the number, you have the assets. But do you have the peace of mind? Many in this cohort find themselves in a position where they have achieved the financial definition of success, but not the emotional one. They are successful investors. They are successful providers. But who are they as individuals? The identity crisis stems from the loss of the struggle. The struggle was the point. The struggle gave meaning to the effort. When the struggle is removed, you have to find a new source of meaning. This is why the lifestyle inflation trap is so dangerous. It is a substitute for purpose. Buying things to feel the thrill of progress is a poor substitute for the thrill of achievement. The shift from aggressive accumulation to balancing life insurance needs and asset allocation is a technical necessity, but it is also a psychological marker. It signals that you are entering the preservation phase. This is where the long-term compounding strategies that worked in your 30s must evolve. You are no longer just growing wealth. You are managing risk. You are managing your family's future. You are managing your own legacy. This is a heavy load to carry, even if you are financially secure. So, if you are in this position or if you are approaching it, know that the silence is normal. The slump is real. The identity crisis is common. The literature does not tell you this because it deals in numbers, not feelings. But the numbers tell a story of stability, and the story tells a story of change. You have moved from the phase of building to the phase of maintaining. This requires a different kind of discipline. It requires you to be satisfied with stability rather than growth. It requires you to find joy in the present rather than the future payout. You have crossed the line. You have the resources to handle the longevity risk. You have the asset allocation to protect your future. But the work is not done. The work has just changed. It is no longer about the number. It is about the life you build around the number. That is the real milestone. That is the one that matters when the screen goes dark and the market closes for the day. It is about finding the purpose that sits behind the portfolio. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I am a one-person team working hard to make each video better than the last. Subscribe if you found value. It is the best way to show support. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. See you in the next video.